Wales, which really makes a nice change.
You can tell we're British because we're straight in with the weather, right? Straight in a comment about the weather. That is a Britain. So Nikki, you've been with us now for 3 years, and we're really happy and grateful, and may flourish to many years to come. But let's start with, what is the problem you solve for professional speakers? What is it you do? Because I know a lot of our people that have been to the summit have ended up working with you. So let's start with the problem you solve for professional speakers.
So most speakers don't lack demand, they lack depth of utilization. So they have this great core message that they want to get across and they want to make an impact in organizations. But often what happens is there's applause, but there's limited impact. And so the problem that I help solve is really how to make a bigger impact within organizations. So going beyond the keynote and actually
Mhm.
turning that into real impact, real insights, real alignment, helping with decisions and making behavior change within organizations.
Right. So what you're saying is you help professional speakers who are booked to do more than just deliver a talk. Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Brilliant. And you specialize? Does it matter if they're an inspirational speaker, or do they need to be a content speaker, or does it really matter? They just have to be a professional speaker that goes to corporates.
Yeah. So it's really looking at what are the outcomes that they're hoping to get from
Okay.
doing the keynote. So it might be inspiring a leadership team to actually look at how they actually align behind a strategy, how they actually implement um, and get results within the organization. So it might be around inspiration, but it might be around content. So it might be around sustainability, it might be around resilience, it might be around mindset, and mindset kind of crosses over into inspiration as well. But basically, it's being really clear about what are the outcomes that you're hoping to achieve from that keynote. What's the impact that you want to make? And what do you want people to do with it afterwards? Because the truth is, if there's nothing, no changes 90 days after you've done the keynote, you've delivered an event, you haven't delivered impact. And most speakers that I work with are really keen to make sure that they have a long lasting impact. So it's not just about doing the keynote, it's not just about doing workshops, it's thinking about what's the outcome that you're helping to get with what it is that you're delivering, and how long do you want that impact to last? What's the kind of, I don't know, the date, that that impact lasts till, or it fades away.
Excuse me. So what's really true about what you're saying? I mean, everything you're saying is true. I'm about to say nothing is true. Is organizations and corporates are more demanding when it comes to return on investment. Unless, of course, you are booked to simply be the motivational, inspirational speaker, and you are brought in to make people feel good and giddy. That's one type of speaker. But really, a lot of, like you're talking, a lot of people, and especially a lot of people that come to the Speaker Summit, which is happening July the 3rd in London, and you'll be there. They really do. You're right. They care. They care. They want impact. They want results. They want longevity. They want to make sure they made a difference. And I think that's really changing in the briefs as well, that a lot of bookers are putting out there or looking at, and organizations, is they are looking for return on investment, right? And I think that is really important. And so you help those speakers to have a more longevity ROI, both for the organization, but also for themselves, right?
Yeah, yeah. Because if you do a keynote, that's fantastic. The organization might ask you to come back and do the keynote to a different audience, or do a slightly different keynote. But if you're asked to, or if you say, I can work with you, I can work with your leadership team, and I can help facilitate conversations, I can deliver workshops, to help you get this outcome that I've been talking about in my keynote. You're going to be working with them for a much longer period of time. And so it has a depth to it. And obviously, it has a revenue that goes alongside that depth too. So you're working with them for a longer period of time, and the revenue reflects that too in your business.
So, what are some of the mistakes you see professional speakers do when it comes to, because obviously you help them solve that, but what do you see and you're kind of like, no, like pulling your hair out? I can't believe you did that. Oh, that's so silly. Like, why didn't you think of this? I mean, I know I'm being a bit dramatic there, but what are some of the things that you see professional speakers do where you're going, if only you just did this, what would that be?
Yeah. So it's really about the follow up. So they may
Okay.
do a really great keynote, and then but before the keynote, you really want to be thinking about what's the follow up. If I want to have an impact, so one of the speakers that I'm working with, who
Yeah.
you know, I'm not going to name names. One
Oh
of the
no,
speakers
you
that
can't
I'm
do that. Oh. Anyway, carry on, carry on.
yeah, so he's very, very experienced, has won the speaker awards.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
no,
you really will
really
know this
intrigued,
guy.
really
Yes,
intrigued.
yeah,
Oh no, this isn't fair.
yeah. And he has a wealth of experience and expertise in researching organizations and pulling out key learning points. And he
Uh-huh.
builds that into his keynotes. What organizations can do based on what successful organizations have done in the past. And so he has some very key messages around that. And the key messages are fantastic. But the challenge for the audience, if you think about the audience, is what do we do with that? It's great listening to that, it's inspiring, but how do we actually embed that into the organization? So if you really want to make an impact as a speaker, it's really thinking about beyond the keynote. How do you help an organization embed the learning points that you are getting across in your keynote? And how do you do that in an effective way? Because it's not always workshops, and most speakers rush to run workshops off the back of a
Okay.
keynote. So it's backing up and thinking about where can they have the biggest impact and what does that look like? And so for this particular speaker, it's about working with leadership teams and helping have conversations. So it's sharing the frameworks from his keynote in much more detail, but it's getting into conversations. And so for speakers, the biggest mistake I see them make when they're thinking about broadening out the impact that they can have in an organization is sticking with the speaking and not switching into facilitating conversations. And it's the facilitation of the conversations that really brings about the biggest impact.
Right. And just because I'm kind of putting myself in various shoes here. Let's just say that I've been approached to do a keynote by an organization. I'm going, wait a minute, the 5 grand's going to be great, but I want this to be 50 grand, right? For example, I mean, because I know you often talk about turning one keynote for this amount to X amount. What resistance do you encounter from the speakers? Because they must be going, some of them must be going, oh no, but I just want the booking. Do you find they have this resistance to going, oh no, I couldn't possibly put myself forwards with that? Do you find that from professional speakers?
Well, what I'm finding more and more now, and I guess we're in a mature market now, and so speakers are looking for what's my edge, how can
Yeah.
I differentiate myself? Yeah, and at the same time, because I work with organisations, I've worked with thousands of leadership teams and organisations over the last 21 years, so I'm coming at it from that perspective
Okay.
in terms of what organizations are looking for. And um, so so when I work with speakers, very often what I find is, and I guess I'm working with speakers that have been on the circuit for many years, what
Right.
they're looking for now is how do I make a bigger impact? How do I stop racing around, on flights here, there, and everywhere, turning up, doing a keynote, and kind of
Right.
flying off again. Yeah.
I know
So
that
for
feeling very
them,
well. Yeah,
Yes, you
I
do,
know that
because you've
feeling
been
very
doing
well.
that a lot too. Yeah.
Yes, I
So,
have.
for those speakers that are in a situation where they're looking, it's much more about making an impact now. It's much more about actually this message. It's not just about stating it in a keynote, it's actually making it real and turning it into real behavior change within an organization. This is how important their message is to them. And if you've got an important message like that, it's really thinking about, well, how can I work with an organization and be seen not just as a speaker, but as somebody that can be a strategic partner and partner with the organization and really make a difference here. And that's what organizations are looking for.
Uh-huh.
They still want the inspiration speaker to come in and kind of, do a bit of rah 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 and get that energy up. And on the back of that, the organization are moving into behavior change, making decisions around things and getting people aligned behind a message. But actually, as a speaker, you can help with that too. And particularly if your keynote is using frameworks and is sharing information that can make a real difference to an organization moving forward.
Right. And just before, I do want to ask more about you and your company. I know we're deep diving straight into the what you do for speakers, which is great. Um, what shifts have you seen as you work with a lot of organizations, and you work across the Middle East, you work obviously in the UK, so you work across, what shifts have you seen in the briefs that organizations are asking for?
Yeah. So very often organizations have what they call town hall meetings where they bring
Yeah.
everybody together. And so a brief for a speaker then might be, we want to energize our audience, and prepare them for what's coming next, what we're going to be saying as an organization. Some of that is about celebrating what, where we are. Some of that is about inspiring and getting people to think about things in different ways. And some of that is about having a different experience, and setting the stage for what comes next from the organization in the context of that town hall conversation. So the briefs are really, in that situation, are about that inspiration and also alignment. It's
Hmm.
got to align with what comes next from the organization. So the briefs are really clear about what we're looking for, what's the outcome that we're looking for, and this is what we're doing next. So this is what we want. This is what we need in terms of alignment for what comes next in that event. Other speaking opportunities within corporates are usually around something that they're doing. They're doing maybe a reorganization. They're looking at performance, and they're realizing that actually we need to turn things around. And what we want is to signal that we're doing something different moving forward. So they might have a brief which is very much about a speaker coming in and helping towards that process, helping to make that shift. So the speaker, one of the speakers that I'm working with that I talked about earlier, is in that space.
Okay.
It's very much about helping an organization think about what next and improve on a
Okay.
performance. So there are those opportunities and those kinds of briefs that are coming out from organizations as well. But they're being much more focused in terms of what they're looking for from their speakers. And um, reading the brief and understanding what comes next is
Hmm.
really important to be successful in either of those cases.
Okay. Cool. And tell us, so you're coming to the Speaker Summit 2026, 3rd of July in London. Obviously, as we're recording this today, we've got a big launch webinar. Depends when people watch and listening to this. So when they approach you, and hopefully lots of people will, what can they expect? What's going to be at your table? What besides some yummy chocolates or sweets?
Yeah, so what they can expect is a conversation about what their message, their core message is, and how that relates to what's going on in organizations right now, and where the goal is for them to expand their impact. Because it's not necessarily workshops. It might
Right.
actually be facilitating conversations, within an executive team or within a leadership team, and um, helping them move forward and think about what comes next. What do they do at the lower levels of the organisation to improve on performance? To get that alignment, to make those strategic changes. So we can get into conversations about the wealth of experience, because everybody's sitting on a gold mine. If you're doing keynote speeches, you have years of experience and expertise that you're kind of utilizing within your keynote. And you could probably expand from that. You've probably got additional skills as well that organizations would really value. They might be, excuse me, they might be coaching skills, they might be consulting skills, they might be training skills that can be utilized within the organization. So it's thinking deeper. I'll help you think deeper in terms of impact and outcomes, because the real value isn't in the talk, it's in the conversations leaders have once the talk is over.
Very good. Like it. And do I recall there'll also be a book at your table? Is that right? Or am I getting confused? Am I
Yes.
confused? Is there a book at the
No,
table as well?
there will be a book at the table. I did write a book called
Yes.
The Corporate Success Pathway, yeah, for coaches, speakers, and consultants. So there will be a free copy available as well.
Excellent. Good. And also, not many people know this, but there'll also be another book launch at that event. Watch this space. Yes, that's right. Will be announced today for those of you joining the webinar. But if not, and you haven't joined the webinar, you'll find out after today. So there we go. Because obviously people watch this at different times. Nicky, final message for everybody watching, listening, thinking about coming to the summit and connecting with you. What will be your final message to them?
Well, it's so my final message is really thinking about what's the outcome, what's the impact that you really want to make, and you want organizations to embrace. And so, really think about that and think about how you can help an organization move from listening to actually implementing. So, you may have inspired, but what we want to make sure is that they're actually integrating what you've said, what your message is. Make sure that they're actually integrating that and bringing about the behavior change.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you, as always, for being a part of this journey for years now and hopefully
I
for
love
years
it.
to come. We can't wait to see you. Have an amazing rest of the day. Enjoy the sunny Wales. I don't know what the next word is. It slipped my mind. Enjoy sunny Wales, basically. And we'll see you on the 3rd of July in London at the summit. Have a lovely rest
Looking
of the day.
forward to it. Thanks,
Thank
Elliot.
you. Thanks, Nicky.